Computer. Okay, we are now recording. So what's your language? Okay. So my Christmas and my Hawaiian Christmas. This is Christmas in August. That's what I'm wearing today. That's my only funny. I'm not very good at funnies.
I think that it was the last clean shirt in the closet.
Actually, I pulled it out. My wife says, "Why are you getting that?" I don't know. Next last day of August. I can't do it anymore. So there you go. Who all we got? Ooh, somebody else joined us. Erica Head. Good morning, Erica.
Good morning.
I assume you guys can hear us. Because you said good morning right back.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
fine.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I say this in deference to Lance. There are some people that are really, really exceptional at doing CMAs. There are some people that can barely get the numbers in their head or how to figure out how to do comparatives. So when we look at Moxi Present, I think you ought to be looking at it in a couple of ways. Way number one, you should join us in here. No, you get to join us in here. You are now a member of this class. No, come back when you're done. Okay. Okay. So I put all of our presentation material in here, and I know that's how Lance uses it. He gets his, and I'm not picking on you. I'm just trying to be. This is where he gets our marketing stuff. And then he tells me what marketing stuff we're missing, and I work on getting some more and so on. And then he saves it and prints it out and uses it in the way he does presentations. Other of you, I know, like a complete, as automated as possible. And this is probably the best system I've seen of how to automate it, next to maybe RPR, which does a good job, but this one I like a little better to pick out your comps. So that's why I wanted to concentrate on that today. And as always, I'm going to keep going back to our dashboard. And I'm going to say in our dashboard, apps and tools, Moxi works. I'm going to drill that into your head till you remember I only got to go one place to get there. Okay. So it's logging in now. And there's my mug that came up, all that kind of stuff. How many of you went in and set up your My Brand so that your email signature? Some? Okay. I'm going to remind you to do that. If you don't do it, then your email signature won't be in there, and that's where you get it. But we're going to Moxi Present today. Present is short for presentation. That's what we're doing, a nice presentation in here. So I click on Present, and I erased all my previous ones because I had about 20 different tests I put in here. If you ever want to get rid of one, you click on the three dots and you have a choice. Share, email, settings, delete. So if you've got a presentation here already, you can share it right from here. You can duplicate it, but I deleted several of them in here.
When you duplicate, does it allow you to?
I believe so. I know it will allow you to update the MLS. Another thing it can do is if you've got one in here and you want to edit it, you click on the pencil and it will bring up everything you had done previously. And you can either start at the subject property or go here to the pages or go pick your listings out. Anywhere up here, you can click on something to go look at. But I'm going to go back to the home screen for now, just so you saw. These are my previous performed CMAs, what I can do with them. You can see I've already marked it sent. So it tells me, hey, you did the right thing and sent this one. If you didn't send it, it won't be marked that way. Today, I'm going to start with the brand new one. So if you log in and you've got nothing in here, unlike Cece, who has a lot of them, these are your choices of presentations you can make. A seller presentation, which is your traditional CMA, a property preview or review, and this is a way for you to type in an MLS number, pull up its current information. It's like a mini CMA. It doesn't have all the marketing stuff, but it will bring up numbers and things for you. A buyer tour and a buyer presentation. Well, a tour would be, here's all the homes I'm going to go look at. You type in the MLS numbers, and then you can choose which pages that you want to use and the listings so that you can drive them around with maps and so on. And finally, a non-listing, which means you can start with just whatever pages we have in there, but you want to build your own presentation that wouldn't be for a home buyer or seller. Say you wanted to do a listing presentation or a presentation on who you are, something about the company, so on and so forth. But they all work almost identical in that, and that's what I'm going to show you today, which is how to do a CMA. And then all these techniques will carry over to whatever else you want to do with it. So I'm going to do a CMA. I'm going to click continue. And I have several choices here. Seller pre-list, which means I went through and picked out several pages that I wanted to be a pre-listing presentation, and then I saved it. So I can save as many as I want to. I have listing step 2. If I have a 2-step listing process, I may send them a pre-list package that I've saved as pre-list, and a second one that I could save as step 2. Distinct would be the higher end properties, and that throws in some pages about distinct properties and so on, some high dollar ones. But by and large, you're going to come right here and go to default seller. Also note that I've got brokerage templates up here. If you don't pick that, you could look at Better Homes and Gardens, or you can create your own templates, and then it would eliminate all those other brokerage templates. Everybody got that? When I'm right here, it says brokerage templates. If I click on it, I can choose just what corporate did, just what Greg made, or you can make your own templates to have only your pages in there. But we're going to stick with brokerage templates because I think that's where most of you will at least start. So I've got the default seller, and I'm going to continue. Now, who am I making this for? Oh, let's see. Who's my favorite musician right now? Kenny Loggins. Okay. Create. Now, this step always befuddles me a little bit because it takes a minute, and then you're going to see a circle pop up. And I don't know why it takes that moment, but I know it does, and it works fine. Here's where it can get pretty interesting. The thing I like about their automated CMA is that there's a lot of fields that you can add here to describe the house you're looking at. And it takes that information and tries to find homes in the area that are similar. Now, for me, this is a little different than the MLS. I describe a house very exactly, and then I start eliminating things so I get the number I want. This has a range that it kind of pulls up on its own, and I don't know what the range is. Get a microphone, Cece.
I had a question about the living area square footage field that we can put in.
Uh-huh.
Should I be adding together my above ground living area and my basement finished area to get that number?
I think so.
Okay.
But I forget sometimes. So if I pull up a bunch of houses that are about 3 times as big, then I go back and add them together. That's how I try to remember it. And I think you're going to find I'm going to use an MLS number here. Let me tell you how this works. This pulls in all the data from the MLS, but they have not downloaded everything going back to 2002 or whatever our current data is. They only go back to 2017. If you know somebody's bought a house since 2017, you can pull in their old data and populate all these fields. So you don't have to. So I've looked up a home. It says 537280. And I'm going to copy everything out of the MLS in here. Now I can immediately hear, well, if I don't get all the data, how will I do a CMA? Well, if you're looking at 2017 data trying to do a CMA, you're looking wrong because it needs to be in the last 6 months. But what you'll find here is now it's pulled in a picture of the house. It's pulled in the address, what zone it's in, pulls in the subdivision, the schools. It's got the tax amount, the square footage, and so on. Now, to Cece's question, I'm going to bet that this square footage is above ground. And I'm going to bet that the basement's finished. And to find that, I would probably have to read some of these notes or to actually have been in the house. It does? Well, it's view out full. Does it say it's finished? And I'm just missing it. But anyway, it's got 3-car garage. And if I've walked through the house or I've interviewed the client, I'm going to know if the basement's finished or not. Now, if they tell me it's all finished except for the mechanical room, I'm going to guesstimate. If they say we only did the living room, then I might have to look at the county records to find out, right? Just to catch Cheryl up. Sorry, Cheryl. If a house has been in the MLS since 2017, if it's sold since 2017, you can put the MLS number right in here and it will populate all this data for you. If it's prior to 2017 or it's never been sold, then you have to fill out these forms together. And I'll show you later more on that if you need it. So once I've got my house in here, and you'll also notice I can bring in, I can browse news. If I've got took a picture of the outside, or I want to go in the MLS and look at other pictures, maybe the inside foyer, maybe something like that. I could look through it and get the new images of this. But for now, I'm going to say, golly, I don't know if that square footage is right, but I'm going to take it as it is. And then I'm going to come over here and push continue. Note also, it brings in when it sold last, how many days it was on the market, the list and sold price for you. Now, I know, and again, I'm picking on Lance because I know his thoroughness. He would be in the MLS finding out all this information already. Absolutely you can. And if you want to choose your own properties, go for it. You can come in here and they have now, based on the criteria that I put in, come up with their proposed listings that you could use. They haven't included any of them. They're only proposing them. And back to Cece's question about square footage, and it says streamline, you can tell that my subject property has a square footage of, where was it? I saw it a minute ago. And they had the square footage on here, right here. 2830, 2643, 25. So I don't have to put in double because I'm pretty sure that of all these houses, they're going to have the same finished basement. Now, I'm just guessing and I can look at more details, but let's look at this one for a moment. I want to see the details on it. Well, it pops up a screen. This is what it pulled from the MLS. Master bedroom, lot features, living room, dollar per square foot, interior features. And somewhere in here, I'm going to find the basement and it's going to tell me whether it's finished or not. Now, again, I'm not saying that you should do all of your CMAs just with the automated data. I'm telling you, if you don't know how to do the other ones, this is one of the better ones. But if you say, you know what, I want to put my own MLS numbers in, you can, and we'll get to that in just a second. click on MLS and enter the numbers that you pulled in from the MLS. So Lance has gone through and picked all the numbers he wants. You can enter them in here, and those will be the MLS numbers that you want to select to be in your presentation. Me, I want to do something. I'm not sure this guy is even close to it. I may send out some numbers just to give him some ideas, or I may say, you know, I can wade through these and figure it out. Because one thing that's kind of nice is the way these are mapped here. So if I click on that, on the left, you see my finger on where the house is. On the right, you see what the house is showing up, how close it is. Well, I want that one. Well, that's my subject property. I don't need to include it. Let's go down to Westbrook. Well, that's just around the corner. I want that one. And I might look at it and say, well, it's 5-bedroom, 3 baths, close to the same square footage, very close. I can click on over here and I can keep choosing the ones that I think are going to fit. Now, what happens if I look on the map and say, I want this one over here. Let me find out about it. Well, if I click on that over there, it brings up a little picture of it. I can click on it again and bring up all the details. And if I say, I want to add that, see all my details, I can include this listing in my CMA. I can click on it over here to include the listing. So what it's really telling me is I'm going through and clicking, I want to unclick that one. I clicked it accidentally. I only want 3-car garages. Well, there's another 3-car garage. It's a little, close. Sorry. And so as I start hovering over them, it says, hey, it's over here, it's over there. That might be too far away. Do I want to include that one? Active listings, green. The yellow ones are pending, and so on. So you basically still have to choose your listing. You still can look at a lot of details. They may not be a number of details for you. But what I like is how this kind of puts them on the map, kind of starts looking at the various features that are similar. And then I can say, those are the ones I want to use. See, I took that one out. I got an X on it. You know, if I put it over it, I get an X. And so I'm happy. Does everybody get that? I'm going to add one more here, Pine Grove, because I love the steep roof. Now, as Lance will tell you, steep roof costs more to build than a, you know, normal pitch roof. Should I include it or should I not? That's got to be a decision you make. But after I do that, I got to go up here to get this to do what I want it to. I have to continue. Does everybody get that so far? Some of you are going to freak out because you're going to say, wow, that shouldn't be $229. No, because that's what it sold for in 2017. That has nothing to do with our pricing yet. But then we're looking at our listings and we can replace it with custom listing. We can reorder them if we want to, but for the most part, I don't care. I can go back and add more listings. I think you can change what order they're in. Okay. Now, having said all that, at any point, I can go back and start over. Maybe I want to do the search over. I didn't like what I came up with. Well, I just clicked the link right here. But to keep us going, I'm not going to do that at the moment. But you all get that, right? No questions? Okay. So once I'm happy with this, and I can see the square foot, the dollar per square foot, what the sold price was, and so on. And you can start seeing what's happened in the last 5 years. We've doubled our dollar per square foot in 5 years. That's pretty impressive. You come down to the bottom again and click continue. Excuse me. And some of you should be asking, where did they come up with that value? Well, that's 2017. Over here, they're going to tell you on the left-hand side, if you based it on the average price of the sold it would be 373,036. Now that's average price. That has nothing to do with dollar per square foot. If you base it on the dollar per square foot, you should be coming up around 386, 260. You can take that number or you don't have to take that number. All it's telling you is based on some stats you have here, this is what you could do. Cece, you look like you have a question.
No,
Okay. Now then,
based on that, Craig, though. Based on using the average, you're gonna have to be pretty close with your comparables.
yes.
Because in the MLS, they give you the median price and the average price, and it can be way off. So you got to really tighten it to use the average price here.
So you've got the low, the high, and the average of all of them, active and so on. Then you can look at them all individually. And I agree with you. The median would be swell too. But we also have features we have to worry about, lot size, lakes, other things that we may not have included here. But if you don't know how to do a CMA very well, this isn't bad. Okay. So if I look at all these, there's several things that I can do here. I can put in an estimated market value. I will never put an estimated value in until I've seen the house. Never, ever. Just won't do it. I could create a range. Well, what's my range going to be? Let's say that I believe based on square footage, it should be 386, 260. I'm sorry. I want to put it in here. 386, 260. And then I'm going to create a range off of that. And I want it to be plus or minus 5%. Is that too big of a range? Does anybody ever realize what 5% really is? Because in today's market fight, you can get that much over asking. Maybe you want to go 2%. Maybe I want to keep it at 5% because I don't know if they've got holes in the wall from where the kids have been playing with knives and stuff.
In that create range area, can you put the number in instead of using a percentage?
Absolutely. I can come down here and I can write that I want it to be 375, 123 to 385, 123. Or you can calculate it and compare, or you can do it however you want. Is everybody with me on this? Can you see why creating a range would be important? I see heads nodding. Okay. Apply. Now we've got that this is going to be so on, and then I can put a note in here that might say based on averages, this would be close. However, the condition of your home and so on, you can type the note in. I wouldn't put gobbledygook there. That doesn't work too well. Okay. You with me? Net proceeds. If, and I do not highly recommend this, but if you don't want to use the MLS form that has all the figures and everything in there, you can fill them in here and send it to your client. But if you haven't seen the house, I wouldn't send it, number one. Number two, it's easier to fill it out on the other form. This is a choice. But it will do some calculations, and you can add as many lines as you need to down here to your calculation. We go continue. Now then, all of this work at the top, subject property, search, listings, estimate, that was all to get the numbers in here and the properties in here that you want to do. That is preparation for making the actual presentation. Now that we have the information in there, we can play with our presentation to make it what we want. You'll see that I've got a lot of pages in here. I've got too many pages in here intentionally. I'd rather have pages that you can choose to leave in or keep out. One of the things right at the top, see, page, you can create and save your own template. So as we go through and look at these pages, you may say, well, why does Greg have 2 cover pages? Well, because I want you to have the choice which cover page you want to use. I will also tell you that you'll note right up here in the upper right, it says Web View. These presentations are made so each page has 2 different pages, one that you can print out like in a PDF, or one that you can send as an email and view on the internet and so on. But they're correlated so that if you choose one page, it'll be in both presentations. You don't have to go back and forth. So if you don't like this cover page, which, you know, I don't need my mug on the front. I like this cover page. I think it looks better. But again, that's your choice. Then all you have to do is remove it from that presentation. And now my front page is here. I want my agent profile in it. No, I don't. I don't want my agent profile, so I'm going to remove it. I like the page property. Page. I like the page. Now, again, if you don't, I want you all to know these are choices you can make for your presentation. I don't require you to use anything. You have property summary. Well, it would be kind of silly to take out property summary. But if you want to see what they have in there, there you go. And it pulls over stuff from the MLS, including the remarks when the people bought it. Listing location map. We're going to go down these and look at them a little bit. Well, there's the listings that I chose to be in this CMA. I might think that this one's a little farther away, but I'm going to leave it in there for now. Listing review. Now, I'm clicking intentionally on the edit button for listing review. And some pages you can edit heavily. Some pages you cannot. As you can see on this one, I can include the photos or I can turn the photos off. I can also decide how many photos per page I'm going to have. Those are the only edits I can make. I can't go in and say, this property needs less square footage. I needed to do that on the previous page. But you can decide what you want to show on your presentation. Side-by-side comparison. Well, this again looks very much like what an appraiser would do. Is it going to have everything? Probably not. But if I was doing a printed version, I can make little notations on this has more roof, this has extra appliances, and so on. I'm going to keep going. Status comparison. Active, pending, sold. It organizes them for you. Listing averages. Now, as Cheryl pointed out, there is a difference between median and averages. However, I'm going to go back and say what median means is that you throw out the very top number, you throw out the very bottom number, and everything in between is the average. So theoretically, if you've chosen your properties well, average is going to be as good a figure as anything. Just saying that, throwing that out there. Price versus days on the market. Again, you can get this information out of the MLS, but it's kind of nice seeing it in a graph format. Price and size. Well, they have a graph on how big it is, if it's active, if it's sold, and so on, based on price. Pricing analysis. Well, I told them this was the range I saw. And here's based on these averages, it would be, and so on. Those are where my condition comes up. And then they've got some more figures to look at. My engineers will love this. Net proceeds. Well, I didn't do a net proceeds, so I'm going to remove it. Come on.
Greg, while you're going through that, you want to show my
You mean the order of pages? I'll get to it in a minute. How's that? Strategy. Well, this is literally just a title page to break the sections up. You may not want a strategy page, but right on top at our strategy, it talks about the photography we do. Now, some companies out there will say, we only use professional photographers. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to use a pro, do it. Nowhere in here does it say we're going to send an agent out with a clunky little camera and hope they come out well. This is professional photography. It's with your eye. But I want to tell you something about photography and agents. I think some agents use a professional photographer to save themselves time. They don't want to go out and walk through the house again. And that may work, that may not. They may open the house and tell them to lock it. But in my humble opinion, if I'm hiring you to be my agent, I want you to get the pictures that I want. I want you to be there when the pictures are being taken. I don't want you to just count on somebody else telling me how it should look. It's just how I am. I want you to know when the title comes in, if it's good or bad. I want you to know if the bank's going on. I want my agent to coordinate my sale.
One of the reasons when I'm out doing my listing presentations and I explain our photography, and I use an example that I took over a listing from another competing broker several years ago, and his pictures were horrible. So she paid a professional photographer to retake them at her expense, at the seller's expense. And then she, after the listing come up, she's like, I need somebody else. And so she was referred to me, and she wanted to know if she could use her pictures. And I said, sure. But I said, I would like an opportunity to pick mine. And I said, then let's sit down and we will look at each room side by side. We can use yours or we can use mine. And she took 90% of the ones that I took. The ones that she took of the ones from her photographer were ones that the windows were not clear. So you couldn't see how closely the neighbor's house was literally like right next door. And the other reason I explained that it's better for me to take my pictures is because that's when I feel like I get more intimate with the house, even more than when I've done my initial walkthrough. And then I go back and write my remarks because I am literally staring at each room and coming up with this key points. Right.
So all excellent points. I guess my point to add to this, my last word is, we never have to apologize for the photography we have here. It's excellent and every bit as good as some of the pros and a whale of a lot cheaper. Now, having said that, Lance is about to tell me.
No, I'm going to jump in here real quick. And this page to me is probably one of the more important pages in your presentation. And the reason I say that is in the past, for those of us 8 realtors, I'm looking around the room, Cheryl, Sandra, maybe Sandra. It used to be we wanted to get as many butts in the house as possible. That was the goal, as many showings as possible. You didn't want to put as much information out there. Now today, you got to have top-notch photos, because if you don't have great photos, what's going to happen? The prospective buyers are going to swipe left. They're going to move on to the next one if those photos look like crap. And so that's exactly how I explain it to buyers. And when I show them this page and able to show them the difference in the photos, they are wowed by that. But I also explain to them what that camera does. And if you don't know what it actually does, see myself or Greg, particularly Greg, and he'll explain it. But it's really cool.
The other thing I haven't created yet, simply because listings have been moving so fast, and I've had a few things on my mind this summer. Well, ever since I had a ticker issue last February, we don't have our 360 photos in here yet. Now that listings are sitting on the market a little longer, we may go back to, and you may desire, or your client desire. And so Lance and I will help you take those 360 photos, and you'll have a real 360 3D tour. I'll create a page for them. Keep going. Warranty. You know that we use American Home Shield. Again, it is your choice. It's not ours. and it's labeled Better Homes and Gardens because we have a deal with American Home Shield to do that. If you don't use American Home Shield and you want to put your own home warranty page together, you can create custom pages, and I'll give you just a taste of that in a minute. The power of PHG. Well, this talks about what our name is. And if you like this slide, leave it in. Again, take out what you don't want. Negotiation and closing. I think one of the important things we have to always talk about as an agent is we're not just here to put it in the MLS and hope it happens. You have to have negotiation skills. You have to have skills about inspections. You have to have skills about title. So bring all that up in a way to help them remember you're negotiating and getting them to closing. We have social ads that are put out automatically for you guys, and you can do more as you go through things. Text BHGRE. You guys know that every time you put a listing in the MLS, that we have a sign writer that you have to put on your sign, and all they have to do is text that number and they'll find out about your listing. If they text you, you get a text and a potential, I want to call them right now. I see you're out in front of my listing. What would you like to know about it? You can do that. You don't have to register it. You don't have to put any other information in, just put the writer on.
How soon does that take to process?
About 24 hours from the time you put it in the MLS. Syndication has to do with where we put it online. Now, I used to have a slide that had all these bubbles on there. I think everybody understands that concept now. I think saying 250 listing channels, it's easy to explain without seeing all the bubbles. Again, that's my opinion. If you don't like that slide, take it out. Showing service. I'm not sure every company out there explains the showing service as well as they should. We put a slide in here so you would know what would happen. That's going to change in about a month because we're changing showing services. Because Zillow bought showing time. Staging and interior condition. This gives you, and this is what I think about a lot of these slides. This isn't the end all. This is more the beginning of a conversation. Let's talk about how your house looks. Let's unclutter it so people can start visualizing their pictures and clothes in this house. Curb appeal. How many times have people pulled up to a house that looks like crap and they just drive away? Or the next door neighbor's got an old Chevy sitting in the front yard. I don't want a neighbor like that. Curb appeal is very important. I don't care how good the inside looks or how cheap it is. If the curb appeal sucks and the neighborhood sucks, they ain't going to live there. Surround consumer. Again, this is a page that says we're going to make sure you get maximum exposure everywhere because that's what we do. And finally, the last page. Let's get it on the market. Now, I know this may sound a little stupid. Some of you may think it's forward. When I was learning this, Eric Harth was my broker. And I had to sit down in front of him with my leather-bound book. And when we got to the last page, I said, now, are you ready to sign the listing agreement? Slid it across. He said I was the only one in that building that had ever said, are you ready to list it? Why are you doing all this work? You're not doing it to give your numbers away. You're doing it to get a listing. If you don't like this slide, fine, but have some sort of close that is a call to action. Make sense? And then finally, if I've gone through this and I say, you know what? I like all the pages I picked, and that's what I want to use as my template. Sure, this is really hard. If I want the exposio below the warranty, I click on it and drag it down. It's really hard.
It can be a little touchy sometimes.
Of course. That's it. Okay, now then, I'm going to save this as a template. And I'm going to call this, it's a seller template. It's going in my templates. See, I already have several templates in there as I've demoed this. And I'm just going to put standard. And I could be done with it here. Okay, now I have a standard template, and all I got to do up here is go to my templates. And I'm going to have standard in there, right there. And I can click on whatever I want. I can have as many templates as I want. You're getting ready to do it for sell by owner. You want your FSBO template to be different than a distinct property, and so on. You might have a short sale coming up, and you're going to say, well, gosh, Greg, I didn't see any pages about short sales or any of that. Well, look what's right here. Add a page. Click on add a page, and you can add from the library, which we're going to look at real quick, or you can create new. Add from library. Well, we have custom pages, my pages, brokerage pages, and Better Homes and Gardens pages. I'm going to start with Better Homes and Gardens pages and see what they have. Well, and I haven't been in here. Oh, look, Spanish. Tulio, where are you? Team example page. If you have a team and you want to create it, a little bit more about Meredith and so on. I'm going to go into the listing presentation and see what they have in there. Consulting, 8 listing pages, strategy to sell, and so on. I'm going to let you play with these on your own because I'm not sure you're going to find a lot of other pages in here you want to look at, but if you do, go for it. However, I'm going to go back to my pages page, and I'm going to do add a page, and I'm going to create from new. There's 2 ways to create pages in here. You can add a PDF that you already have. So you have Lance has a PDF on 360 photography. He can upload it into here, and it will go to both the web view and the other one. Or you can build a page from scratch. I'm going to show you that a little bit more for a minute. So how do I want to do it? Well, in the web view, I can build it with a banner and 2 columns, 4, and so on. So these were the pages that I used to create the pages for us that we didn't have already. And I'm just going to pick on this one for now. Create it. Well, then I can add text, image, or video to each box. Do you really need me to show you all this? One thing you'll notice is once I create the page in the web version, I have to click because remember, it does print and portrait both, portrait. And it will say from the web version you made, right in the middle, copy from your web version. You don't have to build them twice. Now, I built some of our pages twice because I wanted the spacing to be correct and all that. It can get kind of funky. When you're uploading a PDF, it's already an 8.5 by 11. They can go onto both sides and it'll look fine. I'm just showing you that there are ways to do this if you need to build a page that is specifically for your short sale, for your FSBO, and so on. Everybody understand that? No questions online? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, continue. I want to get out of
Not
there.
yet.
Okay, thank you. So now what I want to do is I want to see what the client gets if I email it to them. I can do that by clicking view right here. And I want the web. And you can see it's loading. Presentation is ready and it says scroll down for more. You can email them that link. And this is going to be how it populates. See how things fade in and out kind of nicely. It's got the market analysis. There's about page. There's my property. There's the map. And note when there's a map here, I can click on a property in the middle of it and bring just that up. And it shows me that's comparable 1. Let's go to comparable 2, comparable 3. Or I can close my comparables down again and I can look at all the properties. Let's say that I know that this house right here is right next to mine. So I want to know about it. Oh, come on. Where did it go? Right there. It's right here. It's got the little box around it. And then that brings it up. So I know that we get very used to printing them and putting PDFs and so on in front of people. There's a couple of things I really like about this. One, you can bring them in the office and go through with the client right like this and still have a printed version they can take home. You can email this to them and say, go ahead and look at this, but not give a price recommendation. This system also then tracks it. If they forward this presentation to somebody else, you get to know who they forwarded it. So that if I forward this presentation via email and they send it to their mom in Cleveland, Ohio, now I get to find out mom looked at it or how many times they looked at it. So if they look at this 10 times, I know they're going to be a bit more interested than somebody who opens it or never opens it.
What's better is if they send it to the meeting room.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, are those live links, Greg? So if it's active today and they look at it again next week?
And it, yes, it updates. It updates with what you chose for properties. So if if this one now goes pending, it's going to change to yellow. And then when it closes, it'll change. These are
Doug,
a
where do
list.
we see if somebody's opened it? Because I don't think I get any type of notifications on that.
You find that in your
Or maybe I just don't
CRM.
know where to look for it.
You find that in the Engage or the CRM will show how many times they've opened it. So if you send this to somebody, you want to go in your CRM next week and open up their activities and see if they're looking at it more. Okay, so again, side-by-side comparisons. I'm not going to make you look at all these pages, but you're starting to get the idea of how this all looks up here versus the print. Now, has everybody seen enough of this? You want to see the rest of it?
Can we print just like one page at a time? Like the scattergram, the graphs that you just showed, can I print just that page?
Probably, but the way I would do it would be to go back into the presentation, remove all the pages you don't want in there.
If you're wanting to just print one page.
Yes.
And see where it's printed.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Just a second. But
Switch to print first.
yeah, because right now it's settings, send and view, print view. And there's a picture of the printer. And so this is where I was telling you, this is all now laid out in the way it is here. And if I want to print just that page, I can do it right there, I guess.
Yeah.
Think.
So open it.
It's actually confusing because you would think that that printer would print the entire presentation, but it doesn't. It just prints that.
So
So go up in the right-hand corner to the picture of the printer. Drop down.
well, I could do that, but I didn't generate the whole thing. All I generated was one page.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So there's that. I wanted to see what that was again. Quick fire. So if I want to see the view now as a print portrait, it's going to generate the entire PDF. And keep in mind, each page in the PDF corresponds with the print with the online view. So you could have the book in front of me and say, I'm going to leave this with you, but let's go over it online together so we can both see it. And you can see generating, I know where you were going, generating the whole PDF takes a lot more time. That's why I like the online version. It comes up really quick. Do, 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 do.
know how many people actually do this live with clients.
I just made a note to myself that I could start using this either live on my laptop, or if they allow me to connect their home system, fire up and do it on their big screen. 'Cause a lot of TVs now, you know, use that. I always got like.
Right.
I'm just more comfortable with that. And I'm like, okay, let's see if I can, the next time.
I think you have to get used to what you're comfortable with. And more than that, you need to know what your client's comfortable with. If your client is, you know, a young techie who works in this world, throwing it up on their TV may not impress them, but throwing a book in front of them definitely won't impress them. So you know, you have to read your audience on some of this. Sometimes emailing them a link's not a bad idea and say, let's look at this together. Or you could do a Zoom meeting with them and pull them up like this. But see how long it's taking this to get ready to print? Big, 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 big. And then when we're done, as Amy, I don't know that I'll wait that long, but then up here will be a printer that you can say, I want page 12, 13, 27.
But basically you can't print from the web view. It has to be from the.
It'll look better. If you do the web view, you're going to find that it takes half a sheet. If you do the PDF, it'll fill the whole sheet. You can always do a print screen from just about anywhere, but it doesn't always look that good. Right click on it and say print.
Chris, I know I'm getting kind of into the weeds a little bit while this thing is loading. Is there a way that you can? Is there a way that you could go in and customize the side-by-side comparisons? Can you put your own fields in and so forth, or do you have to go in and create a whole brand new one?
I think you have to create a new one. I don't think they give you the ability to make notes or things like that on them.
If I want to show that, okay, this house has a covered deck, and you know, your subject property has a covered deck, this one does not, or this doesn't even have a deck. I want to be able to go through the listing present, you know, through that and say, okay, here are the differences that's going to change your price. Does it allow you to do that, to make adjustments in it?
Is it a price adjustment or can you write notes on it?
Sweet.
Now
I'll have to go in and
Cece's
tinker with
teaching
it.
me. Thanks, Cece.
And I might buy you lunch if you'll show me.
Okay, so I'm going to let her walk me through it, but back to this. This is the printed version. And you remember on our web version, the page was sideways. This are up and down because Greg can never remember the difference between horizontal and vertical. So I have to say sideways and up and down. Okay. And again, all of our stuff in here, but they're not interactive. And so as Cheryl was pointing out earlier, what if something went pending yesterday, the day after I did this? Wouldn't it be nice to have it update instead of me taking them an old version out and so on? But you get the drift here. Okay, so
If you're gonna, you said you could send the client a link.
right here you have view. Right next to it is send. Take the next slip, add a digital advertising, maybe later.
Hey, Greg, I have a question about that. So I know you're doing a listing presentation, but even when you're doing buyer presentations, that same screen pops up every time that says, hey, why don't you advertise your listing? Is there any way to take that off? Because I'm obviously not advertising the listing if I'm doing a buyer presentation.
I have no idea. Moxi
Okay.
is trying very hard to sell their programs. But back to your question, Erica, and for you guys to know, if this person is in your CRM and you start typing their name in, it'll populate here. When you send them a link, what will happen is it will also connect this CMA to your CRM. So now when you want to see what activities they're doing or how they look at it, that will show up. And I have a choice. Do I want the presentation or the PDF. And let's see how well things are working today. My keyboard or typing fingers, not very well.
You can actually click both of those boxes. And when
Yep.
you do that, it does the web version as like the main thing on the email, but then it says a printer friendly link is at the bottom of the email. So that way you can send both to your clients
Right.
and they can choose which works better for them.
So I picked Tracy Garrett. I'm not going to send it, Tracy. I can write a greeting. I can write a subject. I can write a message. And it also has send a copy to myself, so I get to see just what they're seeing. Now, I'm not going to send it right now, but that's how you would send it, Lance. That'd be the easiest way. Sure. Okay, and I'm going to send you both. And there you go from my contacts. Because you don't trust me. Sorry. I'm not going to include a greeting. I'm just going to use whatever they have and no message. And I'm going to send. I can also, which you'll find out later, if I look at the web view, this link will work for them. All they have, you can send them that link if you want to. But let's say I'm kind of done with this now and I'm finished. I don't have to save it. It's automatically saved. I have not pulled up all these things. I've looked at some of them, but like I, as a broker, can say, okay, I'm giving Lance a CMA. I can add a co-presenter. Maybe Cheryl wants Sandra to do this. Maybe Lance and Sandra work together. Maybe Cece and Nikki work together. Help, a quick view flyer. I could create a flyer from here that would be to market the property with. Now, I haven't done it. I don't know if it's real slick, but you can do that. This is from Present.
No, I know.
Oh, more right there. Okay. But let's say I'm kind of done now. What did I click on? Share? Share, as Lance was asking. Email for review, offices, agents I want to give it to, and so on. Let's say you had a team of people. Cheryl. Or, maybe Josh Roy wants to share with an agent. He wants to sign who's going to look at it, but he wants to be personally involved with all listings to know the prices on them. But for now, I'm going to go back to the home screen. And then I'm going to get to Cece's point. You'll see now that I've got it here, I can edit it. It looks at when I created it, who updated it, and the style. I can click on the 3 dots and I've got share, email settings, all the things I saw on the 3 dots on the inside. But I'm going to be like Lance and I want to make notes. So Cece's going to tell me how to do this. But if I were guessing, go to listings.
Correct.
And then I want to go to this listing.
Right. So you hit over on the right-hand side.
Add edit
Yeah.
adjustments.
So you would have to put your notes in the name of adjustment field, but I don't think that there's like a minimum characters. I think that you can type what you want and it'll show up as remarks. And
or maybe I want to, as Lance said, maybe I've got one where this is concrete, but this has a covered deck. If Lance knows how much that adjustment is, he can put it right here.
and then it will automatically adjust your price on the main screen.
And this is the reason, Greg, why I haven't in the past used this before, because I like. This is the reason in the past, Greg, I have not used this because I like having the profile sheets directly from the MLS so that I can highlight the differences and tell them, okay, your home has a covered deck. This house has a patio, it doesn't have a deck, number one, and it's not covered. So we're going to, adds value to your property.
And
And
you
I don't
can-
give them the numbers. I don't share my secret sauce,
but you can do that here.
and that's why I asked the question
But-
is that I
And
want to
that's an
try.
excellent question. Next point would be, what if your client's not here? What if your client's in California and you're trying to do this over the internet or ship off a PDF that takes 5 minutes to load or so on? This is an alternative to be able to add those kind of things and go over it with them online.
Just thinking outside of the box. If I get good at this part and making the adjustments, I can see this working with a buyer who is looking to purchase a home, and you got to work up a CMA for them, give them a price range on a house that they're looking to purchase.
So let's go back to that for a moment. Remember up front, I said the different presentations you can do, find the perfect property for your buyer clients, or create a CMA for a potential property. I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to use my default buyer, or I'm going to use my buyer presentation because I created a buyer presentation like this. And again, I can go through, prepare it, pull the properties in, make all the adjustments and give it to them in this format. It's the same process. It's just doing different things with it. Does that make sense to all of you? Is it wrong in here? Oh, yeah. Well, I've got to get that changed at corporate before it'll change over here. And they have to wait for a thing or two. But back to Cece telling me how to do it. Did I do okay, Cece?
Yes, you did. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
Gold star.
You was kind of awesome too there, girl.
So Cece, do you use the listings that Moxi pulls up, or do you preload yours with what listings you have out of the MLS?
I hand pick my listings out of the MLS, but then I look and see what it pulls up and add in, anything that I could miss and a lot of times it does pull up different listings that I haven't found. So I like using a combination of both of them.
And I find a lot of people will use many sources. Some people use RPR to pull up the listings. So I don't think you can get too many sources. It's up to you to choose the ones that you want to use from wherever you get your source from. Having said all that, are there any questions about what I've covered? Or do you think you can now at least look in here and get started? Well, then I am going to stop recording.